Hello, everyone, and welcome to LFC Transfer Room. I've gone live before Owen prats around with anything else on our sort of covers and everything like that. But it's a bit of a strange weekend this weekend because Liverpool are playing on a Saturday at night. Owen, you've got to be looking forward to this one. A night match at Anfield on a Saturday. That means you can't drink, obviously, because you're 16, but we can. Not worry about a hangover.
Oh, absolutely. Saturday night Anfield. What more could you want? I'm actually really excited for this game. I think, last few weeks, this game, I wasn't really kind of excited for the way we've been playing. But that second half, to be fair, that is now kind of giving me that little bit of excitement. Having Thiago back, making sure Hender's going to be fit, having Darwin Núñez as well. Just all of that together, and I'm really excited because I think Leeds, Jesse Marsh, he's under pressure at the minute. And I think we could go and it could get good for us, and I think we could put a lot of numbers up, to be fair, like we did last season.
I mean, we'll come on to the American manager at some point, Drew, and obviously you won't be drinking because it's like 7 o'clock in the morning for you, but the other person who may be drinking with me whilst this match is on, Richie, evening matches, Anfield, at a weekend, I love them. I think there should be more of them.
Yeah, it's going to be electric. Everyone on the booze on a Saturday, all throughout the day, hopefully in an electric atmosphere. It's a bit of a strange one. Of course, it's like kick-off on a Saturday. We don't have that too much. But for me, perfect. I've got two young girls. 12:30 kick-off, never good because it's always lunchtime. 5:30 kick-off, never good because it's always tea time. This one, boom, on the beers with James. And really looking forward to it. And listen, the Egyptian King has such a great record against Leeds. If you're not captaining him in the FPL this week, you need to get your head tested because this boy is going to bang, I'm telling you.
We were having this debate, and do you know what? We'll come on to it because Arsenal have got Nottingham Forest and City have got Leeds. Not Leeds, we've got Leeds. City have got Leicester. So it could be an interesting one. Now, Drew, obviously, better for you this, but you're not having to get up at the crack of dawn to watch this match because normally it's 7:30 or something like the 12:30 kickoff. So this is a good time for you, I assume.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the weekends I'm getting up at 7 o'clock earliest is 4:30 in the morning, and this one is 11:45 for me. So that is a nice, get up late, watch the other games first, have some nice breakfast ready. And as you can probably hear, I have a cold, so maybe take my cough medicine right before the game and hopefully, enjoy a nice, I'm expecting a thrilling match with Leeds, especially where they are, but hopefully enjoying a Liverpool win.
Now, Owen, looking at the Liverpool team, there's Nottingham Forest was a disappointment, but that was the one game of the last 5 that Darwin Núñez hasn't played. The big flop that obviously he is, despite the fact he's outscored Gabriel Jesus in half the time. Obviously,
No, I don't like that though. Don't say that because we've been saying that for all these years with Bobby Firmino. That other players have been outscoring him. So I think people saying our fans saying that is a bit hypocritical. But carry on.
No, saying he's a flop.
Okay.
Because what fans tend to do, what opposing fans tend to do, is they tend to get assumptions of a player and it's locked in, regardless of if you can look at it statistically and go, well, actually, he's not a flop. He's ahead of Jesus in terms of goals. He's ahead of Sterling in terms of goals. He's ahead of Aubameyang in terms of goals per minute. Why are people trying to claim this as a flop when quite obviously he's got something very special that just needs to be smoothed out?
I think it's because he's a typical number 9 who plays in our system, which isn't necessarily suited to playing with a number 9. So he's having to go up wide, be more technical, which can sometimes see him trip up and come into a bit of difficulty. But yeah, not very much, to be fair. I think he's coped really well. But then when you see sort of his speciality, which is kind of being in the box, and we see it against West Ham, great header. He scored that unbelievable technique. And then against Ajax, another header from the corner. So you know what his strengths are and his weaknesses. I don't think he's even that bad at. So I think he's a work in progress. And I think by the time we get him at his best in a couple of years' time, because we know that we didn't expect him to come in straight away and just fit into the Liverpool team because we haven't been playing with number 9. You've had Diego Jota, Roberto Firmino, yet they're kind of good aerially, but they're totally different players. You know what I mean? They're totally different. They want to get him behind. Darwin Núñez, he can get him behind still. So I think you have the full package with him. It's just kind of evening out all of his attributes to the point where you can get that full, complete striker that you can look at and say he's one of the best in Europe.
No, Richie Helios always great when he comes to stats and he brings stuff in. With just over 0.8 goals expected per 90, Núñez ranks alongside Man City's Erling Haaland for XG among under 23 forwards in Europe in the top 5 leagues. And I think this is where people have a problem. They compare Núñez to Haaland, and Haaland's had a smash, record-breaking start to the Premier League. Creating hat-tricks, scoring goals and stuff like that. And people want to compare Núñez to Haaland because it's been Liverpool and Man City. Just because he's not hit those numbers, we didn't have to give his dad's dog walker 100 million, did we? So it's a good signing.
Yeah, I mean, it was always going to happen with two massive transfers between the two of, in the past 5 years, the biggest clubs in Europe, because that's what they have been. Liverpool, Man City have been battling out for the Premier League. If Liverpool weren't here, Man City would have won the league for many years. So it was always going to be Núñez versus Haaland. Now, anyone in their right mind would say Haaland is ready-made for the Premier League because he is. And I think his start has just, shown that. He's absolutely phenomenal. Whereas Núñez has always taken time to settle in. I mentioned it on the podcast when he signed. He's always taken a season or two to settle in, whether that's in Uruguay or Spain, Portugal, and now not so bad. But the Premier League. And it was always going to happen like that. So it's unfair because of the price tag that Liverpool paid for him, because he was in demand. Man United wanted him. So many teams wanted Darwin Núñez because he's an absolute prospect. And he's shown that he's in his past 6 starts, he's got 6 goals. That's, that's decent. That's good. Like I always say,
take it.
Haaland is yeah, of course you would. Like in his past 6 starts, he scored 6 goals. Thanks. Every start he gets a goal. Cheers then. He'll end up on 38 if that's the way it's going. The only issue is that Haaland is an absolute machine. And we knew that this would happen. Like, it's unfair to compare. It's like comparing, I don't know, let's say, name me a right winger, any right winger in the world to Salah. It's not fair to compare that because Salah's going to be miles better. So I think there's a bit of a rivalry or created rivalry, if I'm honest, between Man City fans and Liverpool fans, because as good as Man City is, I still don't think they're pure rivals. I think Liverpool's rivals are still going to be Man United, Chelsea, Everton, etc. So there's always going to be a narrative behind this. But Darwin Núñez, he doesn't score Norwegian robot tap-ins. He'll score a header like he did the other day, or he'll score a half volley the other day. Apparently, after his press conference, Núñez said, the reason why I didn't score after that volley pass is because I don't do tap-ins. I mean, take that as you will. For me, it's one of those that he can't be criticised because he's not done too much wrong. And because of the price tag, everything that happens with him, the game before Leipzig, I can't remember the friendly that it was. It was all over social media. He missed this chance. He missed this chance. And then he scores 4 against Leipzig. No one says a word because that's the sort of player that he is. I do think he's very emotional. I think if you look at what he did, he missed, obviously, he hit the post. And then, 3 minutes into the second half, he did the fingers in the ear celebration. I think he's a very emotional player, and I think it does get to him. But I'd rather it not get to him than not, because that shows that he cares. He wants to do well. He's always striving to do the best and to make the best of that opportunity. And maybe, like we were saying on the group chat, maybe he didn't even expect Bobby to pass, so he's overstretching a little bit. But at the same time, Darwin Núñez is going to be an absolute star for this football club. I have no doubts about it. If there's any haters out there right now, save those tweets. That's what I'm going to say.
No, I think, Drew, when you look at Man City, they have one striker now. Everything runs through one central person. It's all about getting Haaland the ball and the brilliant passing team. But what we have to remember as Liverpool fans is we don't just have Núñez. We have Salah, who's been second or first in the Golden Boot for the last 5 years. We're talking about having 2 highly prolific Prolific strikers. Nailed it. Take that. So there's a lot to be positive when you start to think about it. When it all starts to come together, there's a lot to be positive. And Helior's put a question in chat. I've started. We are going to come back to it, Helior, because I think it's quite an interesting discussion point, because I want to finish this sort of Darwin Núñez thing first. But we've got two strikers, two world-class strikers. So there's not a lot to worry about when it comes to scoring goals at the moment.
Yeah, I'd even throw Jota in there as well. I mean, last season he scored a bucket load of goals. Yeah. I mean, he was up there on the scoring charts in the Premier League. And I think as much as fans and pundits are tired of hearing about injuries, does play a factor. But we've talked about this before too, with the mentality of the team, maybe the psychological effects of losing out in the last week of the season last year, all that kind of stuff. And we didn't hit the ground running, whereas Man City had like the full package ready to go, add Haaland on top, like fully firing. Whereas for us, it just seemed to be misfiring, and then drop Núñez into that situation and put all the weight on his shoulders. Numbers wise, he's done really well for himself. I think he's just probably suffering from maybe the memeability of some of his mistakes or his misses. I think it can be like, if you put the spin on it the other way, like I've seen plenty of players who have many YouTube highlight quality passes or shots or something like that, but overall consistently they don't do well, or they don't put up numbers regularly. Whereas Núñez, I think, is the inverse of that, is where he has maybe some shocking touches, passes, or shots from time to time. The headbutt didn't help, but if you look at the numbers with the minutes that he's had on the pitch, he's done amazingly well. And I've been one who was cautious around his signing, but with the new formation, it looks like we have a hell of a player on our hands. That's, we're only going to see get better and better. And if the side picks up as well, which looks like it, as you said, 4 wins in the past 5 matches, it'll be really exciting to see how he grows into this team and to see what we can get out of this season.
Can I just jump in really quick, because Drew put in a really good point there about the memes and things like that. The goals that Núñez scores, like, they are far more supreme than the ones he misses. Yeah, like they're far more supreme than the ones that he misses. So, like, yes, you can have a compilation perhaps of like Darwin Núñez misses, but they will get better because they're more simple finishes. The goals that he scored, like that goal even 2 days ago against Ajax, that's a really difficult goal to score. Like a running header backwards in off the post, that is very difficult. So, he's only going to get better at those simple finishes, but it to me, it looks like he's a natural finisher rather than, if I've got too much time to think about what I'm going to do, then it's that composure element. But the natural instinct is to actually score. And that, for me, is far more difficult to teach than actually, you've got a couple of seconds, what do you do? Does that make sense? Yeah.
And I think you saw it when he just struck the ball first time, wrong foot twice. I think it was the Champions League game. Just decided to just smash against Rangers, wasn't it? And yes, it hit the keeper both times, but the power, the precision to do that on the run, to break land speed records, and we're not going to do what animals. I know, as much as Rigo wants me to ask you about, is Darwin Núñez faster than a certain animal, I am going to move on to this Helior question. So this evening, he's feeling in a provocative mood, so let me challenge you thinking, what is Liverpool's best setup formation? You will, of course, have to consider injuries at the moment, because, Owen, what we played is a 4-4-2, more traditionally a 4-4-2 in the last game, but we saw Núñez and Firmino switch roles quite regular. We saw Salah and Elliott switch roles quite regular and sort of really make it difficult to follow. Is a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4 our best current formation?
I see it as a 4-2-3-1 personally. So, but yeah, whatever you want to call it, whether it's 4-4-2, 4-2-4, I think that is our best formation, because the 4-3-3, I think it's fair to say it isolates Trent at right back. Which we can't have that anymore, unfortunately. And I think this is 2 sitting midfielders. It suits Thiago more. It's what he played for Barcelona. It's what he's known his entire career. And Jordan Henderson as well. It means sort of less discipline to cover. I think that suits him a lot more. And then it also allows Harvey Elliott to come in, play in that forward role. It also allows you to have one more of Jota, Nunez, Diaz, Salah. I know Diaz and Jota are both injured at the minute, but I think have Firmino as well, another great player. So I think a 4-2-3-1, we've got to work at it, but I think once we kind of figure it out, and it's going to take time, it's not going to click overnight. But I think probably going now after Christmas, I think we might be seeing one of the best versions of this Liverpool side that we've seen under Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah. Now, one of the things we talked about in the post-match, Richie, was we don't think this formation that we're playing now really suits Fabinho, because you've got 2 6s sort of sitting back and as ball players moving the ball forward into this 4 with the overlapping wingers. And Fabinho's not really a ball-playing midfielder. He's more a destroyer of a midfielder. So I think Damon was like, I don't think he's going to be able to stay if we stick playing with this formation. I tend to agree with him, because I don't think it really plays to his strengths, because I do think he's the best destroyer, single defensive midfielder. And unless we're going to go to a formation that relies on that type of player, he could find himself in a bit of a hot bother, unless he can adapt, of course.
I don't see Fabinho anymore as a destroyer of a midfield, if I'm honest. I haven't seen it for the past 6 to 8 months. I think it's been overplayed. He's had no real backup, and he's been run into the ground since the day that he came, if I'm completely honest. Which is a shame, because at one time he was the best number 6 in the world, and I have no doubt about that. People used to throw out Kante was the best. For me, Fabinho, hands down. He had the aerial ability, he had the technical ability, he had the passing range, he had the shooting range, and obviously he had that defensive composure as well. I think the new system should help him, because it should allow him to really take on half the load. Because if you're playing a double pivot and your main job is to, yes, it is to create, which we've seen Fabinho could do, but it's also to defend. He's actually only got half the job, because he's only covering half the pitch. So if you are playing in that double pivot, which is where you've got 2 6s essentially, he should only be covering, let's say, the left side or the right side, whichever way he is. I think it's best in the left, but it is what it is. I just think Fabinho's not found his form, because he's just, imagine running for 4 years, 5 years and not having a break. That's what he's done. And that's what the issue tends to be. I think Fabinho can do anything. I think he could be, if you said, right, Fabi, I'm going to train you over Christmas to play number 8, I think he could do it. He's that good a player. I think just right now, like most of the Liverpool players, he's just in need of a rest, but he's also in need of rotation. We've seen what rotation does to players, and Man City have not stayed on top for a very long time for playing the same 11. By playing Fernandinho at the 6, game in, game out, they brought in Rodri to rotate. Calvin Phillips didn't work out yet, but it will do. Sangare, very good against Arsenal yesterday, as Rigo said as well. These are the type of players who need to be rotated in and out. Fabinho's job is more mentally, if I'm honest, than physically. Imagine having to focus for 90 minutes, like 3 times a week, without being rotated in and out, plus the physical energy too. For me, I think he can do whatever he wants. It's a shame, because he was the best 6 in the world, and now he just looks a little bit lacklustre, I think, if I'm honest. It's a difficult question. It's a really good question, James, because I don't think anyone has an answer to it. I generally don't. But Fabi, for me, I would not sell him. I would not get rid of him, no matter what the system changes is, because he could adapt to that system as long as he has the backup to hopefully rotate in and have a bit of rest, which would be lovely.
So you're confident he could sort of play that ball, the sit back ball playing?
I think so. Like the Xabi Alonso quarterback position, right? That's what we're talking about, aren't we? You've seen Fabi do it, but loads of times, and you've seen Fabi do it where he's pinging balls across left, right, and centre. We've also seen him bang against Man City with the famous celebration. I genuinely think he does, but like most Liverpool players, fuck me, they need a rest. They've been going non-stop for the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I I've said it on here before, I think, with all of you at some point, which is the going for the quadruple pretty much meant that we had to run everyone to absolute dust. And it seems to have hit us at the start of this year. And then, so obviously, the injuries came, which didn't help. But Drew, I'm not going to touch on, we need to change the midfield, we need to bring some midfielders in or anything like that, because it's been done to death, and I'm fucking sick of talking about it, to be honest. But the Fabi conversation is an interesting one. In terms of the formation and that front four, the big gap is the left. Do you play Darwin Núñez there and rotate with Firmino and sort of have them interchange in position? Or do you bring in sort of Carvalho or Elliott and sort of play Elliott at the centre? How would you attack that left-hand side? Because you probably number one and number two is Diaz and then Jota. Both are not coming back till after the World Cup.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Honestly, I don't know what would be best. I think we've tried putting in Carvalho in there a few times, Elliott. I don't know if we should be relying on them that much. I know we've talked about Núñez and his time at Benfica playing from the left. So I'm wondering almost if there's just more fluidity. You get players in there you think can do a job, and then you allow them to kind of fill the space as necessary. And if it's just, a moniker you see at the start of the game where that's their position on the, little bubble chart kind of thing, and then it's a little bit more free flowing. I think that should be how we approach. I think that's how we've had our best times in the past, when Mane and Salah would switch sides, when Firmino, they all could play different roles, and the defense had their hands full with that. As for a player who could be put in there now, I'd be, I wouldn't try to change it too much or pull Darwin out of position. And, maybe you can have Firmino up top and Darwin on the left, and, either Carvalho or Elliott in behind. But I honestly don't think it matters that much, but I think it will be Elliott or Carvalho in that spot. And honestly, it can rotate from there.
Okay. Kris McVoy, thank you very much for your question. We will go to some of your questions towards the end of the stream, but we're just going to cover a few more things as we sort of build up to the Liverpool-Leeds match and a bit of a preview. So we're going to start to build our starting 11. So please, in the chat, put in your starting 11. We're going to start with the defence, Owen. Who is your defence? Now, there's a lot of positives in the defence after the last game. I think the fullbacks played brilliantly against Ajax. I think both of them were sensational. Do you change that back four, or is it the same back four 3 games in a row almost?
I think you look at the centre-backs, you got Van Dijk and Gomez. You haven't got anyone else there. So I think that is your kind of nailed-on partnership. I don't think Konate's back, and I don't think Matt is back either. So that rules
Not
them
bringing in
out.
that Phillips?
No. And then left-back, I think you go with probably Kostas Tsimikas. I think you bring him in for a game. I know Robertson had a really good game in midweek, but I just think you don't want to wear him out. He's just come back from injury. Tsimikas had a run of form. So why would you take him out? Just rotate between the two of them. Then you can pick who's the best. I think that's what Klopp should do. And then Trent, just come back from. I'd probably play James Milner right back. I know people don't like it here. But yeah, I would play Milner. And then, yeah, that's my defence.
Richie, are you for that? Kostas and Milner right and left back?
I don't think so, purely because we've got a dead rubber match against Napoli, and we're obviously already through. So I'd play our best squad against Leeds. At home, get the momentum, keep going. It doesn't matter against Napoli, unless I know we could beat them more than 3-0 or a 3-goal cushion to go top of the group. We've already qualified. Doesn't mean anything for me. I would be playing our best back four, which at the moment, Trent, Gomez, Van Dijk, and Robertson. And the only reason why I wouldn't play Konate, you could do. There's an argument you could play Konate. Absolutely, there is. I'd like to see him come on at maybe 60 minutes just to get those minutes built up, and then maybe play 45 against Napoli, and then build his minutes up that way. But I think, the Napoli game doesn't matter unless Jurgen's going to go out and say you've got to beat them 4-0 or 5-1 or 6-2 or 7-3, etc. there's not really a lot of point. So I say play the best team against Leeds and just go for broke.
Now, Drew, you're the judge in this. Obviously, you've got strongest back four in Trent, Gomez, Van Dijk, Robertson. Then you've got Owens, which is Milner, Gomez, Van Dijk, Costas. Klopp has talked a lot about not rushing players back now, and that's part of the problem. He's playing them too soon. So I don't actually anticipate to see Canate. So I do think it's going to be Gomez and Van Dijk. Who are your fullbacks?
I'd go with Richie. Trent on the right, Robertson on the left. I think after the performance against Ajax, Robertson, Schuhen. He's coming off injury, but I think you can give him 60 minutes, see if we can get the job done or longer, and then throw Tsimikas in. I know, James, you talked about wanting to go full at Napoli, laying down a statement in the Champions League. But I tend to agree with Richie where I think Klopp's going to treat it like a dead rubber and get minutes back in the legs. I don't think you're going to see a completely changed side. I think we don't have enough up top to do that. But I think Premier League, we really need to lay down the statement more at this point, and we need to get back up in the fight. And 3 points against Leeds is a must. So I think you go with your strongest lineup.
But first place is up for grabs, though, in the Champions League.
Oh, I still think we go for it in the Champions League as well, but this is a Leeds preview.
Why go first place in the Premier League when you get first place in the Champions League group stage? That's all I'm saying.
Have you seen though, like the first places in the Champions League? They're not that great.
Yeah, I mean, we could end up with Club Brugge, couldn't we? Or
exactly.
Porto.
We're going to end up with Porto, aren't we? I don't think there's an absolute over-exaggeration right now that we have to finish first because we're going to get like an absolute shit draw. I just think, I think really that, listen, it's always going to come back to this. The Premier, and for me, I don't know what you boys are like at home, but when you qualify for the Champions League, even on when it went 2-0, 3-0, it's like, oh, okay, good. But I can guarantee if we go 1-0 up against Leeds in the 80th minute, I will be screaming this house down because for me, the Premier League is the big one. And we've already qualified for the Champions League knockouts. So that's what it is personally. And yeah, I'd love to smash Napoli by a +4 goal advantage, but it might not be realistic. Napoli going really well. Top of Serie A, absolutely dicking it over in the Champions League as well. And listen, as bad as it is, a 2-1 win, an Anfield win, that builds momentum anyway. And I wouldn't care less, unless we drew Madrid or Bayern Munich, I couldn't give a shit about anyone else. I genuinely couldn't. We're
going to get Porto. We're always going to get Porto. Porto are going to win that group and we're going to get Porto. Because we always get Porto.
Good. Bring him on. As long as it's not Madrid or Bayern Munich, bring him on.
Midfield 2, Owen. Midfield 2. Do you bring back Thiago so quick?
Midweek, it was Fabinho, Henderson in midweek. So, Thiago's an ear infection. He'll start Thiago.
And it was Curtis Jones and Fabinho against
Fabinho.
Fabinho, he can't play in the system. Richie's right. He just can't. Or in terms of he's not the player he once was, and I think adapting to the system as well. He's just not a great player at the minute. So I wouldn't be totally against him starting. And then who else have you got then? You've got Jordan Henderson, who's then played quite a lot in the past as well. So
Ox is back in the squad.
Don't even get me started on him. I can't wait until summer, until we offload them and never have to see them in a Liverpool shirt again. Rant over.
Or discuss them.
Absolutely. But yeah, I think Fabinho, Thiago, you know what you're going to get, isn't it? So I think, yeah, probably go safe there.
Okay. Is everyone on the Fabinho, Thiago?
I think so, especially since Hendo took a knock, didn't he, to his knee. I mean, Bosch is to the knee. Cool. They don't they? They're a tisher. They are. They sting. So yeah, perhaps it'll probably do well to give Hendo a rest. I'm still rubbing my knee. I don't know why, because it hurts. Just watching it hurts.
Drew, you same.
If availability is there, then yeah, Fab Hendo or Fab Thiago.
Okay, and then the front four. Are we carrying on with the same front four? Owen, of Salah, Nunes, Firmino, Elliott.
Yeah, you are. Harvey Elliott, one of our best players at the minute. Don't drop him. Darwin Nunes, same. You don't drop him at all. Salah, he's just undroppable in general, isn't he? So you just don't touch him. And then I think the only player is probably Bobby Firmino, but still it's working out. So why would you change it? You could bring in Fabio Carvalho for Bobby. I guess that's quite like for like. But no, I didn't see a reason to change it for now. And yeah, I think Wednesday maybe play Fabio Carvalho because I think it'd probably be better suited that game to him rather than this game.
Richie, Heliod puts a comment in the chat here that, Leeds are without a winning 8. Ted Lasso, are they going to be marching out? I've forgotten his first name. Marching him out. Yeah, Jesse marching out together, Is he gone if he loses? Is he a dead man walking?
It's always hard, isn't it? You never know, because I thought Frank was a dead man walking 4 weeks ago, if I'm honest, when Everton went on a very bad losing streak, and he managed to survive. Liverpool is a different kettle of fish. If you're looking at Liverpool, top 2, top 1, Champions League winners, FA Cup winners, League Cup winners. I don't think that's the defining moment for them. I think we saw the defining moment for Gerrard with Villa, where they lost to Fulham 3-0. Pretty definitive. I think if Liverpool stick 3 or maybe not more than 3 past Leeds, then he might get the benefit of the doubt because Liverpool are that good. But if it goes into the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, etc., maybe because Leeds need to stay up. Leeds are a great team, and I love to see Premier League teams, and Leeds are a Premier League team. They belong in the Premier League. I say they belong in the Premier League team because of the fan base, rah. To me, they just are a Premier League team. But if they get 4 or 5 put past them, then yeah, I'd say so. I don't think he's got any catalogue to work past that says, actually, you owe me more time. And that's what the issue is. So, it'll be an interesting one. To be fair, I don't know. I can't see Liverpool putting past 4 or 5, if I'm honest, though. And I know that we favour well against Leeds, especially at home, and so does Mo Salah. But yeah, I think it'll be a comfortable win. I wouldn't say Jesse Marsh's job's on the line, though.
We've really hit a couple of teams quite hard when it's all clicked together, Drew, it's dangerous for Leeds. They could end up playing really well against us, and they could end up getting a decent result theoretically, or we could absolutely decimate them and pull them apart, and Leeds could be marching out the Premier League. Trying to mix the song in his name here. It's not good for Americans, is it? And their view. You got 2 American players, an American manager. Drew, come on. What's going on?
I don't think it's as bad as you're painting it, James.
You haven't won in 8 and you're 4th favourites to go down.
They started off well. They beat Chelsea 3-0. They had a decent start, and then it's steadily declined. But most of their matches have been pretty tight, except 1 or 2. I think Leicester and maybe 1 other. But Brentford.
It's just a flat line, Drew.
I think they've
also been without Bamford and Rodrigo.
Yes.
Their main goal scorers for a while.
I think that they whatchamacallit, they lost Rafinha to Barcelona. Bamford's been consistently injured, and they kept trying to force it. Team was kind of built around Bamford's success. He got him to the Premier League, and I don't think they've really made that switch since. I like the way Leeds play. They're attacking, and they could give us problems. Our defense, if we're not settled in. Not saying I don't expect an upset, but they have good players. They've scored pretty consistently in the league. They've got a decent side. I think it just needs to come together for them. I think like Richie said, unless we beat them like 6-7-0, like that will show that the players, and then there's just a funk in the club that needs new change. But if we only win 2-0, I think the next game that Leeds has against Bournemouth is more of the telltale if you keep Jesse through the break or you don't. But I don't think it's as bad a situation as you painted, James. The bottom looks pretty tight at the moment, and I'd give Jesse.
What do you mean if I paint it? I'm just giving you the facts.
You're throwing a lot of flavor. You're throwing a lot of flavor out here, James. I don't like
doing marsh puns.
Give the Americans a chance. Give the Americans a chance, James.
Okay, Owen, we're gonna do score predictions. Liverpool should beat Leeds. They're not marching in the same direction, these players at the moment.
He's done it.
So what is your score prediction?
Stop, James. Stop.
Oh dear. I go with 3-0. 3-0. Nice 3-0 win at home under the lights at Anfield. And we'll go with a Darwin Núñez hat-trick. Because why not? Actually, we'll go 4-0. Add on a Mo Salah goal because he needs one at the minute as well in the Premier League. So 4-0. I'll be very, very happy with that result personally. And then hopefully carry a bit of momentum over into the coming weeks as well before the World Cup starts.
How do you think the marsh is going to go, Richie?
Listen, I've got Gomez because he's 4.5 million in FPL. Bargain, by the way. And he will probably not keep a clean sheet. I don't know why. I'm going to go 3-1. And I would say I'm going to captain Salah this week because obviously Haaland is a doubt, which Pep language probably means he'll start. So yeah, I'll go Salah 2 goals, Darwin 1, and I'm going to go for a Klitsch goal.
For what goal?
Klitsch.
Leeds.
For Leeds.
Yeah.
Drew.
Yeah, not for us.
Oh, you might do. You might be Carragher predicting.
He might be. That'll be 4-0 then, rather than 3-1.
That's true. Drew, how do you think it's going to go?
We'll go Richie's 3-1, maybe 2-1. And for all those American haters,
you're anticipating the Americans fail is basically what you're saying. Just another 9
I back my team no matter what. I back my team no matter what, James. But for all those American haters, I hope it's someone obscure like Elliott scoring or Firmino, which nobody has in their FPL in our group, and can't keep a clean sheet because Jack Harrison's going to get one by us.
Oh, Jack Harrison
don't you bring up FPL, Drew, seeing as you dropped all Liverpool players from your team.
I can't do it, man. I don't want to I don't want any Jujus on my team. I have such bad luck with it, so I don't want any Liverpool Jujus in my team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, listen, FPL it's an absolute curse because I captained Salah the first few weeks and Haaland obviously stormed it and Salah did fuck all. And then I was also like, oh, Ali's going to keep the most clean sheets because he always does. And they did nothing. Took them both out, start scoring.
So the penalty against West Ham as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got score predictions from these guys. Kris saying 3-2, Jen saying 9-0, Rigo
Jen
saying
loves the 9-0.
Jen always says 9-0. So what we predict here is it's going to be a Liverpool win. We don't think it's going to cost Jesse March's job unless we absolutely decimate them. Whilst Leeds are not marching on together at this moment in time, I will not have to make a Jesse Marsh pun for at least a few years. This has been LFC Transfer Room. If you are new here, please like and subscribe to the videos. I promise I don't do this amount of puns normally. And we will catch you on the next one. Take care.